When you meet a businessman, you must shake him by the hand.
Hey everyone, it's Allie, and Christmas break is almost here, which means it's time for me to start another massive project. So today we are going to be starting the Yellow Guy puppet from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. I have been watching Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared non-stop ever since I first saw it over Thanksgiving break, and it is just a masterpiece. It's full of dark humor and gore, but also lighthearted and funny moments, and I just love it. And of course, Yellow Guy is my favorite character. He's so innocent and pure and funny for no reason, so I want to bring him to life. I'll try to document the process as well as I can, but I'll probably be doing pieces and parts of him here and there throughout various days and weeks and possibly months, so we'll see what happens. So let's get to it. So far, this is what I thought of to get at the craft store. We've got a whole bunch of yellow polar fleece. We've got some foam. I've never used this before, but I'm hoping that it'll do really well for his body shape. I've got some styrofoam half spheres for his head parts. I've got large styrofoam balls for his nose and small styrofoam balls for his cheeks and eyes. So, yeah. Whatever else I'll need, I'll try to find at home. Otherwise, I'll just run to the store again. I was also heavily inspired by Lou Art's recreation of their own Yellow Guy puppet from Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. They did an awesome job. Their tutorial is up on YouTube, so be sure to check that out, and it is honestly so good, so check that out. So for this video, I think I'm just going to go through the plan for what I plan to do on how to make him. So to start off with, I'm going to do the head first, because that's probably going to be the part that I'm worried about the most, just because it has to be the most detailed in terms of what he looks like so that he looks good and nice and screen accurate for me. But also just getting those features right is going to be a really big part of what we're doing with this project. Next, I'm going to work on the body shape, so kind of like underneath his overalls, what it's going to look like, just this shape. And like that's it, because being able to connect the jaw to the mouth to the torso and come up with a way to get my arm up in there, that's going to be a whole other part of it as well. Now, the next part is going to be the arms and the legs, so just these little pieces and connecting those, because I want to make sure that the body itself looks good before we add any sort of clothes. So the body will be, or the limbs will be next, and then after that I'm going to add his little overalls and shoes. So that'll be the final part, is his costume, his little pants. We'll see what I come up with. So that's the plan. 4 steps, ideally, and we'll break those down as we go, but that's the plan. Alright, so now that step 1, planning, is done, we're going to go on to step 2, which is doing the head of our Yellow Guy. In the show version of Yellow Guy, he has this really characteristic look where every time his mouth is open, he just looks totally in awe of, like, whatever he's looking at, and I think it's amazing. This is, like, the only expression he has, but his character is just so much more than that, but I really want to highlight this look specifically right here with his mouth and just his vacant stare. It's amazing. First, we're going to hot glue the halves together to make a sphere. I'm also going to use this as a test to see how the hot glue will impact the styrofoam, if it'll melt it too much, so fingers crossed. I'd say that worked out pretty well. Next, I drew out where I thought the features would go, like the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and I'm going to cut out this mouth shape next. I just used an X-Acto knife on this. It's not the most clean, but hey, it gets the job done. And there we have it. And so the mess begins. So using my scraps, I'm going to use this as the mouthpiece, and this to reinforce the inside. Tell me why the hot glue is sticking better to my hands than it is to the styrofoam. I added pieces of cardboard to the inside of the mouth to kind of give it shape, and it's something. Update, I just went through 2 of the styrofoam balls trying to come up with the perfect cheek shape for him. X-Acto knife, not as good as a good old steak knife, apparently. Alright, cheekbones done. Alright, now we're moving to the floor, because it is polar fleece time. Alright, so there's the head. We're going to start with a chunk about this big. That looks misleading. So this is the head. We're going to start with a chunk about this big. And one of the things I want to do is that if you pull the fabric this way, it stretches a lot. but if you pull it this way, it doesn't stretch as much. So I want to try to make everything as tight as possible to this head, really contour it, and then any mistakes or wrinkles that I have, I'm going to hide them along the top of the head here so that it can be hidden by the hair later. And I think I'll mostly do that off camera because it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to take me forever. So here we go. Okay, so that took quite a bit of effort. There was only a little bit of wrinkling at the top, and I put that there intentionally because that way it'll be easier to cover up with the hair later. So let's get on to the next part. Okay, so next I tried working on the mouth, except for I cannot figure out how the mouth works, so I'm just going to do that later. Anyways, I tried making a nose out of one of the large styrofoam balls, so like this size, but didn't work. It was too big. It looks massive on his face. So scrapped that, took one of the small styrofoam balls, used that instead, stuck it on there, looks nice. And instead of the small styrofoam balls, I'm going to be using ping pong balls for his eyes. Oh yeah, it's all coming together. Alright, so I think I'll finish it off here for now. He's looking pretty good. I'll figure out how to attach the mouth in the next video. See you later! Hey everyone, it's Allie. As you can see, it's been a little bit since I started this series. It's now Thursday. I started it on Sunday. But as you can see, I have not cleaned up at all. So this is part 3, and where I left off, the mouth was really bugging me because of this weird gap here. So when he's talking, it would just like have a big hole, which I don't want. So I studied the video, and my mom studied the video, and my mom, who is an amazing seamstress, by the way, gave me this as a pattern. So I'm going to try to make this for the mouth. Okay, so that looks about right. Right, now I've got plenty of extra to work with. Because I think this mouth is going to be the hardest part of this whole project, because this is what it looks like from the bottom, right, so far. This is what it looks like from the front. I had to cut a bigger piece because it was too small, but I'll see if I can figure out how to attach it. Okay, so it looks like this so far. All I've attached is the inside of the mouth. This edge pieces are still loose, but I'm just going to leave them in like that for now and start on the body. The foam, this is literally all I got, so I gotta make sure that I get this right the first time. In terms of scale, I think this is about right. That one turned out pretty good, so I'm gonna make another one. Alright, so that's what's left of our foam, and here are our 2 pieces. So now I'm gonna hot glue those together so that they make kind of a 3D shape. Yada 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 yada. I'm realizing now that I should have made the skin pattern before I glued the body together, but oh well. I'll just trace this out instead. And we've made a guitar! Wow, this is the worst way ever to do this. I'm so sorry. Sewing time. Make sure you remember seam allowance. I'm great at sewing, guys. Mom has to take apart her whole sewing machine to undo what I did. Okay, it's fixed now. Alright, so if you ignore this part, I think I did pretty good. And it looks like a giant hot water bottle. Alright, now I'm going to put on his skin like a big old pillowcase. Okay, so that took quite a bit of effort. The front side doesn't look too bad. Back side is a little bit wonky, but that's okay because it'll be covered up by his clothes anyway. So, yeah. Now I need to make the incision where my hand will go, so I'm thinking right there. And look at that! Wow, amazing, awesome, cool! Now to attach the head to the body. This will probably take a while. Okay, so I think I figured out a decent way to attach the fabric for the mouth, which is just to scrunch it in there, and then when it opens, it looks like that. It's not so bad. I'm gonna try to machine stitch this. It might be the worst mistake of my life, but we'll see. Okay, so that definitely was a mistake, but I decided to hand stitch it instead, and it looks a lot better. It's a little messy, like obviously, but I can clean it up, and that's where I'll leave off for this video. Hey everyone, Allie here. It's been a hot second since I filmed the last one, but it's part something right now, and it's time to start doing the arms and legs. Okay, so for some reason I thought I had way more scrap fabric than this, but I've got this long piece, and then I've got this piece. So in comparison to the yellow guy, this is pretty much what I have left, which isn't bad, but I hope I can make do with what I've got. So as I was looking up reference photos of Yellow Guy, as you can see, his limbs are pretty long, but also, compared to mine, his torso is, like, way smaller. I don't know why I thought that his torso was so long, so we might have to do some surgery. Just look how long. I think it's supposed to be, like with all of this cut off, just right there. I'm gonna see if I can fix it. This might be a huge mistake. Stay tuned. Guys, I'm so scared right now. I just cut off so much. Much shorter. His torso is much shorter. Ignore the ugly seam. I just hot glued it, but you know, it's fine. Alright, so according to this photo, his legs, when they're folded, go about to the middle of his torso, so I'll try to make them that length. Actually, I will not be doing that. I am not going to have enough material, because if these are the legs, right, I'd have this much left for the arm, which is not enough, and this is enough for maybe one arm, but the length is not enough. So for now, I'm just going to do the arms, and then if I go to the store, I go to the store. If I don't, then he'll just be a legless puppet, a half body. But you know what? That's okay. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's okay. It's fine. And darn it, because I was cutting them out for the legs, I didn't make them, you know, have any shapes on the end or anything. They're just flat. But now that they're for the arms, I'm gonna have to figure out how to add the arm shapes. So it's gonna be a whole process. All right, this is gonna seem really weird, but this is how I'm gonna be doing it. So I take a long strip. Ignore this. Take a long strip. Fold it in half the long way and glue the edge. You can sew it, but I was lazy. And then I left some on the edge. This is going to make the hand. So I glued these edges on. Now I'm going to cut out the fingers. Update, I hate it. I'm taking a break for dinner. Okay, so after dinner I'm coming back to my room, and this is what it looks like. It is just a huge mess of laundry and styrofoam and more laundry. And just a bunch of junk. Plus, I don't think his arm is going to work at all. So basically, what I think I'm going to have to do is go shopping for more polar fleece, because at this point, I don't think I'm going to have enough fabric to do his arms and legs. But I'm going to clean up, I'm going to fold my laundry, and I'm going to post more videos once I get everything figured out. Hey everyone, this is Allie, and we are back at it again with the Yellow Guy project. I will be doing voiceovers for this video because I'm actually working in the same room as my dad right now. It was a snow day, so I finally got time to work on this project, so I gotta be quiet. But first off, I got some heavy sponges, and I used those to fill his head, so now there's not a huge gap when I try to open his mouth, and his mouth actually opens and closes, so it works super well. I also put the extra sponges in his body to give it more shape, and then I started tracing out the arms. I also finally got more fabric, guys, so I'm so looking forward to this. I traced the arms onto 2 layers of fabric, and then I'm going to stitch around the edges to make a full arm. This is after I turned it inside out. But as you can see, these fingers are going to be tiny and awful, so it's time for a hand transplant. Of course, I did this with no pattern whatsoever, like usual, and so I have to do multiple iterations to try to get it to work, which usually ends up fine, but yeah. And here is the finished updated arm. I sewed in some fingers in there because I didn't want to make individual fingers, and here's kind of a view of what it looks like on the inside before I turn it. Next up, it's time for some stuffing. Woo woo! He looks utterly terrified. After we got the arms fully stuffed with polyfill, it's time to see what they'll look like when they're on his body, and I think he's pretty impressed. Here's what it looks like after I hot glued the arms on. Next, we're going to get some legs, and the legs have got to be pretty long because this is a noodle boy we're talking about. I made just cylinders for these and then bent it to give him a little foot shape at the bottom, and I hot glued it into place. This took a while for it to dry. Then my dad had some baby socks in a drawer somehow, so I used those on his feet to make him look more like feet, and this is what it'll look like once it's all attached. They tried to put me on the cover of Vogue, but my legs was too long. Also, I tried making some ears, but I don't think I'll attach them until I get the hair so that I can know the positioning of it. And as you can see, it's kind of a mess in here. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and in the next video, we'll give him some clothes because he is fully naked right now. Alright, here we go, guys. Time for the clothes on this yellow guy. And once again, I will be working in the same room as my dad, so it's going to be all voiceovers. I tried using an old pair of my own jeans, but they ended up not being big enough, so my mom let me use a pair of her old jeans, and I used a pant leg. It was pretty much basically the right size for him, so that was already really nice, just some nice denim jeans. And so I kind of cut it out to the shape of his body. I didn't end up attaching the legs yet because I wanted to make sure that I was going to attach them with the pants on there. But basically, I just took a loop of denim, cut a triangle down the middle for his leg holes, and then stitched it up around the edges. For these roll-up parts on the pants, I actually ended up just like hot gluing extra pieces of denim around it, and that's the same with what I did with the pocket. I just took an extra piece of denim and hot glued it to the front because I'm too lazy to sew, and that's the kind of person I am. So it ended up looking pretty good. Ignore the hot glue. It always comes out most of the time, and then it looks fine. But anyway, that's the main part of it. I couldn't find yellow buttons for the straps, so I took black buttons and then used yellow duct tape and just put it over it. Don't tell me it looks like early 2000s because it was during a snow day and I couldn't go to the store. Then I just hot glued the buttons and the straps to the front and pinned them in the back so that I could still have full access to the back. And this is what it looks like pretty much. There's plenty of space to get your hand in there. He is a really good size. His arms are a little bit thick, but he just worked out more than the Canon version, I guess. I still need to get him shoes and hair, but he's looking pretty good. Hey everyone, this is Allie, aka Robot Maker Girl, and I just bought some more blue fur, so you know what that means. Time to get Yellow Guy out of, oh my gosh, time to get him out of storage. So here's where we left off with Mr. Yellow Guy, and he looks pretty good, but today we're going to see if we can give him some hair. So the reason why it took so long to find some blue fur in the first place is because my local fabric store didn't carry any, and I wasn't about to pay like $15 just for a yard online, because that's too much, plus shipping. So instead, I just scoured the bin stores until I found this circle blue fuzzy bath rug, which why would you want that? But you know what? It was cheap. I got it for like $3 for this whole piece, and that's gonna be more than enough for his hair, so let's get into it. Looking at reference photos of his hair, it's pretty much just like a mullet with nothing on the sides. It's like a bald head and then a mullet. So I'm going to be trying to recreate this shaggy look here, and I'm hoping it'll come out stringy enough. Like, the stuff that I got is pretty thick, so we'll see how stringy it comes out. I think I'm just going to try to cut into this and see how it goes. Okay, so basically I just used a regular scissors because I'm lazy and cut out a long strip from the back. At first I did one from the end, but it was a little bit too thick because I folded it over twice. So instead I took one of the same width and then cut a slice off of it to make it thinner, and this is how it turned out. Yeah. I'm not like super pleased with it. I almost wish the fabric was longer. There's a lot of like gapping in his hair, like, I don't know if you can see, but I had to glue some of it up in the front. I just don't love it. Like, it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's just not right. He looks like he has a buzz cut for some reason. I wish it was longer. If anybody has any advice, let me know. But for now, I think this is what we're sitting with. I also had to fold the ends underneath and hot glue it to the side of his head. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, so I just folded it under. I'm not sure. See, it's like really thin in places, and I'm not sure how I'm feeling about that. And there's some other like imperfections and stuff that I'm not in love with, but like, oh, I just don't know. Like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's also not the best, but honestly, I think it's pretty good for being on a budget. And seeing as I only spent $3 instead of like $30 to do this, I mean, this is pretty good. Okay, so I added ears and it looks a lot better now, honestly. So it's still not quite right, but look at him. Oh. He's kind of fun. And I think he's done for now. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so excuse the noises in the background. I've got a print going, but this is the guy. So if you want to see a close-up of his neck, it's really messy. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty bad. But I didn't know what I was doing, so that's half of it. But I basically turned his neck folds inside out and tried to sew them to the body itself. So like on the front here, it's kind of straight, a little bit, because this is the part that I did with the sewing machine. Then I realized, wow, his head is massive and it's not gonna fit under that. So on the back, that we don't talk about here. It's hard to see. I'm trying to do 3 things at once, but it's already coming apart, if you can't tell. But basically, I just tried sewing it to that, and it's already coming apart. And it's really messy, especially on the sides. and here. Now you can see it better. Yeah, but there's already holes forming. But if you have a better way to attach it, let me know. I just hand stitched the stuff that I couldn't do with the sewing machine, and tried to do like a hidden stitch around the back sides. You can Google it. It's not super difficult, but so yeah, from the front, decent. Okay, from the back, don't think about it. Hope that helps.
When you meet a businessman, you must shake him by the hand.
I think this guy looks just like this thing.
It's not working.
Everything's fine. Everything's good. Everything's fine and good and fine. Nothing is wrong. I'm feeling great. Everything's cool and chill and nice.
When you meet a businessman, you must shake him by the hand.
That's winning.